Fast and Furious 6.
Yeah, number 6.
The evolution of brushed steel. Now it's polished, like gorgeous polished metal.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the next step in that the photography of the last one, and that they're on some kind of anonymous road, gravel, cliff top. I'm not quite sure what they're standing on.
Yeah.
They've got a blue sky in the background. And then, like you said at the start, they were just kind of standing there looking.
They've gone back to brooding, though.
Yeah, they have, haven't they?
Like Fast 5, they're all in action stance. Fast and Furious 6, they're back into brooding time.
Yeah.
Although I noticed guns like slowly become more present.
Yes, that was because
I guess Fast 5 is the first one where we've got 3 people with guns in them, and then Fast and the Furious 6, Dom's holding a full-on shotgun.
Yeah, I always wondered what I could never remember this, but The Rock's character was like, he was a sort of, as the plot demands it, special forces police officer, or I'm not quite sure what exactly his job was, but
he's kind of the like unnamed generic secret agency kind of.
As needed, he can follow them to Rio and like hunt them down. I forget which one it was, but there was one of the films where the trailer made a big deal of showing him shattering a cast by like flexing his arm. I think that might have been 6. I'm not quite sure. They all kind of meld into one here, but I'm trying to work out. The background looks like it's London to me.
It definitely is London. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess
I don't know where that road would be.
No,
just a giant sky bridge.
The characters have definitely taken precedence over the cars. Like they've left the cars in there so that there will be cars, but it's kind of like don't worry about those. They're just the weapons of the characters, I suppose.
When was Paul's last Furious?
I think that was.
Oh man, you really set a trap for me here. Otherwise, I'd normally do all of the research on this stuff.
I'm just looking at the posters now to remember. 7 was his last one, because 8. I have a slightly amusing anecdote about seeing that in the movie theaters, and he wasn't in that one. So yeah, 7 was the one his kind of send off. Although apparently they're going to keep the character alive, and he's going to be in the new movie coming out. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to do that. Maybe deepfaking has gotten really good.
Yeah, well, they deepfaked him for 7, I think.
Yeah, but apparently he's going to have talking lines and stuff in this movie.
Hell yeah, they can do that.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I kind of love that we're at this weird intersection of, is that okay? Because his family, I feel like his family wouldn't do it if he wasn't okay with it.
Yeah.
But then equally, do they have the liberty to make that choice? And then can you own that? Like you can't own someone's, but you can, because they had that with Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars.
Yes.
Is they had to go to his estate, and his estate was like, yes, we do like money. Or they were like, yes, we'd like him to continue being part of that franchise and of that storytelling.
I wonder as well if in the case of Fast and Furious, they may have signed on it for like, yeah, you can do a couple of them, but if they had been telling him, hey, can we just make like 12 more of these? I think they would have been like, oh, come on, it's a little exploitative.
Yeah, but with something like, I mean, and it's very unique in Paul Walker's situation where this is a franchise that he loved and he was quite outspoken about being connected with, is that it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't consider myself an actor, but I have acted, and the idea that like after I'm gone, I could just keep doing stuff kind of brings me joy.
Yeah, that's definitely
but that also is how I believe. Like I'm like, oh, when I'm dead, I'm gone. So have fun, go nuts.
Yeah, you're not gonna miss. You're not gonna You're not gonna you're not gonna
as long as it's not hurting my family or like anyone else, then
absolutely.
Yeah, if you're gonna throw me in a Mustang and have me drive off a cliff and then land on a helicopter that spins upside down, shatters its blades, and lands inside a Boeing 747 as it takes off, throw my face in there. I'm okay.
There's worse ways to be used, isn't there? I guess.
I mean, give me a pun or something.
Yeah. It's when they start using you to sell like insurance or something like that, then you might kind of be like, hey, come on, like, don't. have a lot of
Oh
respect for the.
God. Yeah, good point. Good point.
I want they probably are going to have to eventually have posthumous contracts because
Yeah.
I remember Dave Chappelle's whole thing was that he signed a like in perpetuity contract with the Chappelle Show.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much longer it's going to be before you have to start signing these in case you die while we're making the franchise. We can keep using your likeness contracts.
I guarantee you it's already happening. It'll already be because
Yeah.
there's so much money involved in these movies, and now that the
Yes.
technology's there, why would you not?
Yeah.
Like, why would you? Because now that and the precedent's kind of been established. It's happened a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and it's happened when people haven't died. Right? They've had to do the reverse of it, where
Have they
someone's
really?
still alive, but they want to take them out of the movie, which involves
Ah,
putting someone else into the movie.
of
You
course.
know.
Yeah. There was
Um,
apparently the Blade movies were who was the actor that played Blade? That was
Wesley Snipes.
yes. Apparently, even in the 90s, he was being difficult. Like there's an urban legend that he refused to do a camera shot. He was lying down and he refused to open his eyes, so they had to CG him opening his eyes. And so, I guess you're right. This does go back a ways, and yeah, especially with things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you're probably signing like $1 billion contract to do, like Sam Jackson being in the movies, but not really like
Yeah.
starring in them, but they kind of need your likeness. And are you going to pop up here and there? Like, are you familiar with the author called Brandon Sanderson?
No, no.
He's got this big series called the Cosmere, and they're all fantasy novels, but he's been kind of planting the seeds of a shared universe for 20 years, something like that. And he's got one character who's he's not a main character, but he's going to be. And for right now, he's only just shown up in the background and he's shown up in other
Yeah.
stories. And I think when they sign the character, the actor to play him across, because they're obviously going to
Yeah,
make
you're
it
like,
into thing, you're going to have to sign on for, we can use you whenever we need you kind of thing.
yeah. And it is that weird thing of we are at that point where they really are treating people like, that they can just pull you out and be like, all right, you're here and now. But isn't like
Mm-hmm.
the newest Ant-Man just came out, and I think they
Mm-hmm.
recast his daughter.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And like, I think was the thing of, we love the idea that the MCU is all set in stone and all of that stuff, but it's like,
Mm.
I'm pretty sure all of this stuff is up for grabs when,
Well,
money
War
and
Machine,
creativity and War
they
Machine's a
recast
great
that guy like
example.
that. They did not wait a
Yeah.
movie.
Well, I think they knew. I think that they had this vision, right? And like,
Uh-huh.
and they were like, oh my God, if we don't replace him right now, then
We've
he's
set a
right.
Yes,
Because
you're
like
right.
the whole thing that he was saying was, hey, I'm part of this thing and I'm, kind of a big part of this thing.
Uh-huh.
And going forward, I'm only going to get to be a bigger part of this. And they went, oh, good point. You seem difficult. All right.
We need
Yes,
to
you'll
make an
do.
example of him.
Not
Yeah,
you'll
you're
do. I shouldn't
right.
say that. All right. The guy, the actor who plays War Machine now is amazing.
Don Cheadle, he's great.
Don
Yeah.
Cheadle. Yeah, right. Like I'm not going to go like it's not as though they.
Not just some guy. Yeah, like,
Yeah,
hey, you
yeah. I
get in
didn't want to
there.
imply that Don
We need
Cheadle
War
was like
Machine.
a compromise.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, is there anything else you wanted to say about Fast and the Furious 6's poster? It's a little bit bland, to be honest. Like you say, they've kind of built their audience up. It's a bit
Hey,
like,
don't you call it bland? They put a lot of effort into that very subtle Dutch tilt.
that's true. I am invalidating probably several designers and photographers' work, but I think you hit the nail
This
on the
is,
head.
I mean, this is a Frankenstein poster. This isn't one person's baby.
Do you reckon it was
This is,
designed by committee?
100%.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, the thing about Fast and Furious movies, which is why I was excited to talk about them, is the posters there's often a lot of minimalism or that new simplicity in there where they're not afraid to, because they know the brand is so powerful, they're not afraid to go, it's just a poster.
It's a bit like Coca-Cola sometimes. You do wonder, do they really need to
Yeah.
advertise? And it's the same thing. Like, it's less trying to convert people to see a new Fast and the Furious and more just telling us that there is a new one out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey, if you'd like to check it out, then go to the movie theater or not, whatever.
Well, and the posters, they don't need to tell you what's going on. They just
No.
need to get you excited that the thing you like is happening again.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's trying to market Christmas.
Yes. I heard the Poirot novels, the Agatha Christie novels, were essentially just we want the same story told but different each time. And I feel like maybe the Fast and the Furious is a little bit like that. You kind of know what you're signing up for. Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be family, there's going to be a new celebrity villain, there's going to be a lot of really cool action sequences, and they're going to end it by having a barbecue and drinking Corona.
Yeah. It's I was going to say something which I feel like would get me in a bunch of trouble. I will reword it in a more enjoyable way. It's playful James Bond.
Yes.
Right? Is you kind of know the cast, you kind of know the people, but there'll be there's a new this person, there's a new that kind of person.
Yes.
But you know what to expect. You're like, I expect, and for Fast and Furious movies, just expect a good time.
Yeah. You're right, actually, because maybe they've always done this. I'm not super familiar with Bond, but the goons, what were they called? The henchmen. They were quite often minor celebrities playing them. Have I got that kind of right?
Yeah, sometimes they were minor celebrities. Sometimes they were people before they were celebrities.
Yeah.
But often they were character actors and just interesting people.
Yeah.
And that's something that I kind of love that the Fast and the Furious and a bunch of movies do that now, where they have that confidence to just go, not everyone has to be everything. Like, you throw someone in who's fun, like, get something in there that's going to stimulate us and compel us.
Yes, I do quite like that. It's like you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They were talking about the days of a TV star guest starring on another TV star's show, and they're usually like a villain of the week or whatever. And I feel like in the way the Fast and the Furious movies have that kind of energy. Like, I think the latest one's got Jason Momoa in it, and like, throw him in.
Like, of course we would.
Yeah,
how would we not? How would we not? Yeah. And I mean, that was like, we're going back to the stuff that Arnold Schwarzenegger used to make his career. His first ever on-screen appearance was in a TV show where he was just in one episode, and he was just a muscly guy.
Yes. And you can even think back to the old martial arts movies, like, you might find, I'm just thinking.
Well, Enter the Dragon has
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, it's got a huge amount. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Jafar, yes, that's the name.
Yeah,
the very tall man, and that was a wild cameo. And
I think it has even more. I think that there's like at the time there were like chong 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 to all of these people where you're just going, oh man, yeah.
Yes, there's also a funny trend of like. Another one would be Val Kilmer in Die Hard. He was one of the, at least I think it was him. He was one of the terrorists.
Where is he in? Val Kilmer?
In Die Hard? Maybe I'm misremembering that.
Alan Rickman?
Yes, he was the big bad guy. And then I think Val Kilmer was one of the goons. But yes, it is a lot of fun to see people before they were kind of big, just putting in a hard day's work. So number 7 is a really vague poster.
Vengeance hits home.
Yeah,
I feel like this is a teaser poster.
Yeah, that's what it does feel like, doesn't it? Because there's no other information on it. But the others were equally as kind of vague. And this one was one that stuck in my head the most, because the funny thing about going through these was thinking, which one do I remember seeing at the movie theaters just around?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting that they really focused on the car here. And like, you can't really tell who the characters are in the background, but you kind of know.
I can definitely tell that the middle guy is not Vin Diesel, because whoever's in the middle of that is huge.
That could be The Rock, probably.
Yeah. But I love it. And that's that thing where, like, this is a franchise that gets so meta that they're like, you don't need to see the actors. You don't need to know who they are. You get it.
Yeah.
Like, all your favorites are back, or they're not.
Yeah.
Like, it's like this.
It was funny to see in the first few days as the franchise was picking up steam, you'd have actors that would sort of disappear for a couple of movies. And now I think that it's really cranking. They're just all in the movies.
Well, I mean, the way that we make movies has changed so much, though, too. And the expectations around it of, like, there was a time where you'd be like, oh, I don't want to go, like, actors, would be like, oh, that'll put me in a box or that'll do this thing. Whereas now they know, oh my God, I'm going to turn up. It's going to be 4 days of shooting. I've got 3 scenes. You look at the Expendables, like the first Expendables movie with Mr. Church, and they meet in a church, and Arnie turns up as Trench because he wears a trench coat.
Yeah.
Oh God, what are you guys doing? But it's just this gorgeous scene where like he didn't, like they didn't need him in that movie. He didn't need to do the movie artistically, financially, but he wanted to do the movie because he's like, how fun is this? And that I think is where the Fast and the Furious movies have kind of landed, is that it's like, if you're an actor and you get a call, hey, do you want to be in a Fast and the Furious movie?
Yeah.
If you're an established actor or you don't take yourself too seriously, you're not going to hesitate. You're going to be like, I'm in, I want it.
Why not?
Like,
right.
Yes.
No, that's great. Yeah, it must just be such a bizarre call to get, hey?
Well, yeah, and that thing of like, especially like cameos, where there's got to be a bunch of weird cameos that don't even like make it through.
Yeah, I know I was watching something recently. I feel like Christopher Walken is quite often, he's in it for a scene, and
he loves it.
Yeah,
he loves it.
How could you not?
He's like, do you need me to sing? They're like, no, there's no singing. He's like, all right.
I'm going to sing anyways. But yeah, not a whole lot else to say about the Furious 7 poster. I think it's the first time they haven't used Fast in the title. Fast and Furious 6, Fast 5, Fast and Furious. Yeah, it's the first one. They've just called it Furious.
Yeah, because, the director was furious that they kept having to make these movies.
Yeah. I wonder.
He's like, I have a really beautiful small town movie that I want to film about my family. Oh, no, we're not doing okay.
We need to do another 3 of these.
Fine. Is there one director for most of the Fast and
Justin
Furious?
Lin did. I think he did from maybe 5 through to the end. I don't think he did the last one because he had a family emergency, something to do with his daughter. I think maybe got sick. I should have researched that properly, but yeah, he's still listed as being an executive producer in number 8, but he wasn't officially directing it, I think. I guess
we're like 80 years away from just, if 80 years, we're like 5 years away from AI just doing the whole thing. They're just like, there's enough Fast and Furious now that we can just feed them in.
Type into
machine will make ChatGPT. That'll do the script. We'll just feed that into Stable Diffusion to output some still frames. We'll use those and then just start animating in between. It'll
I'm really looking forward to seeing the first AI movie.
Lower your expectations.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I'm looking forward to it.
You can watch AI Seinfeld 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's right. I've been reading a little bit of those, or just modern retellings of Seinfeld episodes that somehow they get it just right.
Yeah.
But
F8.
Yes, the Fate of the Furious, which I think I'm trying to remember if that's the one with John Cena in it. I can't even remember. I don't remember.
Based on this poster, he's in the car on the right because that is very looks like its suspension is struggling.
Yeah,
that would explain his weight
with all those muscles.
Oh, can I give I can't speak to Fast and the Furious tidbit,
sure.
But Dwayne Johnson, I saw an interview with him talking about when he was on the TV show Ballers.
Oh, yes.
And so in Ballers, he's a very he's gun and wink. He's doing great. He's a sports agent.
Yeah.
And so he drives all of these really incredible sports cars.
Uh-huh.
And in this interview, he was laughing about the fact that he's Dwayne Johnson. He's like, how big is that guy? The dude is massive. And he's like, I can't actually fit in these cars.
Of course.
So apparently they had to the car would pull up and then they would have to cut to him standing up out of the car.
Oh, wow.
But he really can't fit in it because he's so big.
Wow.
And all those sports cars are super compact.
Well, that's one thing I have in common with Dwayne Johnson then.
Here we go. Can't fit in a Lotus Esprit.
Struggle to fit into a sports car. But I think yes, this must be the one that I have a slight anecdote in, and that I saw the second half of this movie twice in the theaters because I went out with a group of friends to watch it, and we didn't realize there were 2 extreme screens, which is the big, loud thing. And one of the guys we were with just kind of guessed and went, Oh, we'll
Oh
go
no.
here. So we went in, and it's right in the middle of a big action-packed chase. It was when they were in Edinburgh, and I thought, wow, they're really starting this movie out with a really action-packed action sequence, aren't they? And just the more we watched it, the more we're kind of nervously looking to each other, like, this feels like it's
Like,
the climax
yeah.
of the movie. I don't know if this is the start. And then
I mean, the good news is it didn't really ruin much for you.
no, it could well have been the start of the movie for all I knew. And so we watched it through, and then we went, okay, yeah, we definitely went into the wrong cinema. So then we found the correct cinema, and we just went inside and watched pretty much exactly the same second half of the movie again.
Wait, so you never got to see the first half?
Eventually I did, but
Okay.
not on that day, no. I mean,
I was gonna say,
I picked it up, John Cena, bad guy, family.
yeah,
They've apparently got a big secret base, like a secret clubhouse now.
of course. Where else would we keep all of our cars that are one of a kind but somehow replaceable?
Yeah. But aside from that, I don't really remember anything. I don't.
I'll tell you what, they put a lot more effort into the kerning. They fixed the letter weights. All
Yeah, you're
right.
right.
You'll
They
notice
have.
you look at the rhythm of it, feels a lot nicer.
Yeah,
It's still an ugly ass font, but it's working.
they're
As long
making
as
the
I don't
best of
look at
it.
that S for too long, I'm fine.
And then, like you said, they've made a bold choice with the F8 at the top, which is another very, very Fast and Furious thing to do. Just, see what
It's
happens.
that style of imagery though too that they've got inside the F8.
Yeah,
There was like a 5-year period where that was the visual style for every TV show.
you're
Like
right.
if you remember Lost or
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
all of these like mystery, like, oh, what's happening, oh, what's going, it's like exactly that of like
Prison Break
people
was
just
another one, wasn't it?
lined, yeah, Prison Break.
Yes.
It's blues, and I think the blues came out of like a counter to the greens from like the Matrix kind of era, but
Of
we've got
course.
like all these blue cool tones and then warm faces all looking concerned.
Heroes was
Yeah.
another one, I think, that had that same kind of
Yes,
look to it.
100%.
Now that you've said it, I know exactly what you're talking about. And yes, that's
Yeah, it's
exactly
like
it.
lineup of a stacked lineup of actors looking worried.
Yeah. I almost think that The Walking Dead had their period of doing these shots as well.
I mean, that exact imagery, but with a greeny brown and then a little
Yeah.
bit of dirt. Boom, you're
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But they're
No.
sticking with the simplicity. They're sticking with the bright white background, which I love. High
Yeah.
contrast. They're just giving you a little tease of some cars where you're like,
Uh-huh.
ooh, okay. I also appreciate that the cars that are in here are like 100%. If you're a car person, you're like, oh shit, it's that.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. It's enough
they
of the
chose
car
the,
to see.
yeah, and they're really iconic cars if you know what they are.
Yes.
I
And
don't.
no, me neither. After about number 3, when they stopped saying the names of the cars out loud, I had no idea what they were.
Which is kind of, yeah, it's heartbreaking when they forget to, keep me looped in. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, come
exactly.
on, guys.
Yeah, I have to do the research. I really like how the name is like central in this poster. It just feels good to me that it's like, it's horizontal, straight in the center. Like you say, they've done a lot more with the kerning and the layout of the text. And then they've got their kind of flashy, got the actors in it. I'm guessing, yeah, this must have been the first one that Paul Walker wasn't in because it's the first one he's not on the poster of.
Yeah.
And then I think Jason
And then,
Statham was gone at this point. So he's,
but then
do you
we've
know?
got the next one,
Yeah, the next one
Hobbs
is
and
Hobbs
Shaw.
and Shaw, which was, I watched about half of this movie and it felt like I was watching a new Bond movie. Have you seen this one?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
There was a bit where Idris Elba's character, I don't know what he was meant to be, like a super spy,
Yeah.
some kind of Green Goblin
I think that's
hypersuit.
why it's a presents, right? Like all the other ones are based
Yes.
in reality.
Yeah.
And this one, it
Felt
jumped the shark.
really different, didn't it? And I just remember, yeah, he jumped out of a building. The Rock and Jason Statham both, I'm not even calling them by their names. It's
Who can remember their characters' names? It's impossible.
for me after a certain point, like, if you're watching, what's Steven Seagal's movie? Under Siege.
Any of them.
His character is technically called Casey Ryback, but to me, he's just Steven Seagal. And even Jackie Chan to a certain extent. Like I watched one where his character has a name, but I kind of was like, he's just he's the
Yeah.
same character from Police Story or Drunken Master or whatever. I think it's I feel like that with especially it feels like they made The Rock's character like way more like him in this movie. Like I don't remember him being
Yeah.
as much of a goof as he was in these ones.
Yeah, they kind of went, which yeah makes sense. It's a different
Yeah,
thing. They're doing it.
exactly.
They're doing their own adventure,
Exactly.
and if The Rock wants to have fun, let him have fun.
Yeah, why not? But I switched it off at about the point they jumped out of a building, and I think The Rock, I think he just landed on a car or something, and he was fine. And
You
then
know, I greatly appreciate that you feel like Hobbs and Shaw was too absurd for you.
this was my line apparently. I kind of feel like I should have finished it, but I just remember at the time going, this is a big jump from Fast and the Furious. Like it, I think
Massive.
the plot was something about a virus that was going to wipe out all of humanity or something like that. And I probably should go back and rewatch it, but I just remember going, I was not prepared for this level of intensity.
That's the problem was that that it was Fast and the Furious presents people from Fast and the Furious doing not Fast and the Furious in the style of Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
So it's just like you're just like, oh, because that was I had a great time watching this movie. I can barely remember any of it, but it had bright lights, it had explosions, it had handsome men being strong and like I guess that's about most of the movie was just handsome guys being strong. Although according to the poster, there were also women in the movie.
Yes, I do remember. I don't know what she was called. She was like a thief or a cat burglar or something, and I think she was Jason Statham's sister or something. And
what's the deal with like Idris Elba doesn't even get his name on the poster? Like it's bad enough that the two female leads don't get their name on the poster, but then like, what does he think he's Kevin Spacey in Seven? Like his photo's on the poster, bro. We know you're in the movie.
Well, this comes back to the idea of egos. I sense that I have this thought in my head that maybe these two had their idea of what they wanted the Fast and the Furious movies to be, and it wasn't lining up with Vin Diesel. And so he went, fine, you guys just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so you have to imagine that these two were directing traffic on set and I'll do this and we'll do this. And I'd be curious to see if they had their point system for punches and kicks and everything like that in this one as well.
Also, from like interviews I've seen with Idris, like I feel like he would have just been like, I really like I have a good career. Like I'm just happy to be in a fun movie.
Yeah.
If you guys need your names in big lights, that's all good.
Yeah,
I'm getting paid and I get to have fun and make a really cool action movie where I've got superpowers. And how often will I get to do that? And dear God, I hope they make another Suicide Squad because the first one just did not land.
Was he in Suicide Squad, the first one?
I don't think so. Was he? No, I'm thinking of was he in this?
I honestly haven't seen either of them, so I couldn't tell you.
You're making me break my brain. He's in the Suicide Squad.
He's in the second one.
Oh yeah, he replaced Will Smith.
Oh, so he's Deadshot in the second one. Fascinating.
No, this is where I got broken. And this has happened to me before with exactly this. Is he's not Deadshot, he's Bloodsport.
Oh, so it's a Deathstroke, Deadpool kind of thing where they're
where I'm
they're not the same, but they are.
Yeah,
gotcha. And the funny thing is, as well, is people have been wanting Idris Elba to be the next Bond for years, and I feel like he kind of was Bond in this movie, like the gadgets, the leaping out of a building, and I remember his costume turned into a motorcycle or something at one point, didn't it? I remember.
Yes, do it.
I seem to remember him. He got run over or something by a truck, and his suit like kind of popped up again and turned into some kind of vehicle. And so maybe this was some kind of backdoor pilot to see what he'd be like as a spy. He's been doing
a bunch of those where he's just like slowly building a body of work to be like, come on.
He was great in The Harder They Fall. I don't know if you've seen that one. It was a cowboy movie.
No.
He's like
he's brilliant, and he plays like he can play serious and he can play fun. He's like, I'm a big fan. Although apparently I forgot that he wasn't in. That's how badly I wanted him to be in the first Suicide Squad movie.
You were just seeing him on the screen instead, like,
because I didn't get Yeah.
I think
I
that
thought he
about a
was
lot of
in it.
movies, to be honest.
I thought he was in it with Will Smith too.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't even like
Yeah.
a separate thing.
Wow, that's so funny that they just made like it's not the same character, but
No,
you
It's,
know
it's
who
just
it's meant to be.
it's a different guy. It's a different guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Superman. It's Sentry. We're doing fine.
Yeah, it's not what is his name? Captain America. It's Soldier Boy. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. The Patriot was it? Isn't that the?
That is another one, I think.
Oh no, U.S. Agent. U.S. Agent is
That's
the
another one, is it?
another one of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Well, because
But
U.S. Agent is in the Marvel universe now.
gotcha.
Um,
They're really beating that dead horse, aren't they?
oh man, they're gonna. I mean, that's the fun of it. Just like that's. I will say that's kind of the difference between like one of the many plethora of differences between like Marvel and like Fast and the Furious is like Fast and the Furious is like just keep it simple. Just keep it real simple.
Yeah.
Just don't like Marvel's like we got all of this. It's like no, just keep it real
Yeah.
simple.
I hope no one tells them about the idea of a multiverse, because I think that's the kind of thing they would be like, "Oh, we can do
No, they
another
can't do
version."
it. No, Fast and the Furious. If Hobbs and Shaw taught us anything, base it in reality.
That's
You can't
true.
get too weird.
Yes, that's very true. The other thing I did, I should have kept watching, is because Roman Reigns, the wrestler, who's The Rock's cousin, is in Hobbs and Shaw, but I never reached as far as that point. So I should actually watch it and see how he is.
Yeah.
I think he plays his cousin at the end, I think, right? Or they go to Hawaii, I think, right? Or do they go to
Is this
Samoa?
I have yes, I've definitely seen this.
Yeah, I've just
Yeah.
seen the making of, because I watch wrestling, so you see all kinds of like on set pics and everything.
Yeah.
But
All right, I
yeah,
think are we on to F9?
yes, we are indeed the Fast Saga, which is another one. I think this was the one they went to space in, which was again huge scales, like end of the world kind of.
All right.
I think that was the one.
The poster looks fun.
Yeah, they actually made a range of these. Like I learned the name for them, but whatever the name for the poster that shows one character on it, they've got a special name for them.
Yes, yeah. They did
They
a color for each of them and had them sitting on their signature car.
they did, yeah, and I thought that was really cool. Again, they show their willingness to just try something cool and see how it looks, because I think the smoke is really distinctive. It definitely stuck in my mind.
Yeah, it's a where have they got it was a photographic technique that people were doing, right? Where they would put down like smoke and then have people walk through it and do other
Ah,
stuff. And yeah, they've done, I mean, it's the thing about it is that it's bold. The solo posters, it pops. It looks
yeah, they
amazing.
look great on
The
those, don't they?
group poster with the 5 different colors, it's not
Yeah.
quite working.
And the big segment of like dark smoke in the middle kind of overpowers everything else. You can only see a tiny bit of the red, which is Dominic's color by the look of it. And
Yeah. Yeah, when you
yeah,
look at if we're digging into color theory, the rhythm's off. You know,
yeah,
it is because you've got that white in the top left corner
yes,
is making the black in the middle even more all consuming. And then we've missed out on some red and we got like just the
yeah.
tiniest. Come on, guys, sort
It
it out.
definitely draws the eye. It also looks like it's been done in post rather than the smoke being colored there, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Like it
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
been
yeah.
a what is it? A hue
Yeah.
saturation. Check the
Throw on
colorize box.
colorize.
Yeah.
Done.
And then
Or
again
if they did do it, if they did take it as the color, they've definitely digitally
yes.
amalgamated them
Yes, good point. They would have
because,
definitely enhanced
well, it
it.
also goes into that back into that space that we talked about earlier, where it's like it's unnatural.
Yes.
Like if smoke was that close to each other, it would
Yeah. It'll just be
commingle.
brown.
Yeah, yeah, to
Or
mix
I
together.
don't know, whatever color mixes, yeah. And it has a little bit of, those skydiving where they put down those flares to
Yeah, yeah,
let them know where to land. That's what it reminded me of. I don't think that's
yeah.
that vibrant in
For
real
me, it
life.
just looks like a whole bunch of people in Call of Duty are bringing in airstrikes.
Calling in airstrikes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, stop leaning on your cars. You guys have got to get out of there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a disaster in a few seconds. But then again, yeah, they've the title F9. Like, what else do you need to know? There's another
Yeah.
Fast and Furious coming out. Here's some good photography. Come see it.
Yeah, but Fast is back.
Yes, you're right. I wonder. I wonder what the official title of this one is. F9 can't be the full title. Maybe it is.
Fast and Furious 9, The Fast Saga.
Hmm.
But no, I think that, no, it's IMDb says F9,
F9.
The Fast Saga.
They really just do whatever the heck they want.
Hey, they've earned it, man.
This is true. It obviously hasn't hindered them.
Forever.
Yeah, they're going to run out of combinations eventually.
So then we've got
the last one. Yeah. Fast X, which is supposedly the first of 2 parts to come out in the last movie.
Love it. This is no one can be mad at Fast and the Furious. If anyone is mad at Fast and the Furious, you gotta relax. Like, what is, like, the tagline on this poster is "The end of the road begins." Like, even if you are an English teacher, you cannot be mad.
No.
All right. Because they know what they're doing. It's just Dom getting emotional over his rosary.
Yeah.
And then instead of designing a logo, they just took the X-Men logo and swapped men to fast. They're like,
or the that old XFL, the football league from America that tried to take on the NFL. The logo looked pretty much exactly like that.
Perfect.
Fast X. That's got to be a satisfying moment when your franchise gets enough entries to be able to use X in the title, because it's just such a cool letter. Yeah. So, but vastly different to the rest of the posters. Like, again, this could just be a teaser.
It's a new, this is number 10. This is a new thing. Yeah. It's a whole new day.
Dom definitely looking a lot older in this one. Like they're, I don't know if they
they brought in the screenwriter from Logan. It's just Dom, and it's set like way in the future, and it's become clear that Dom ages way slower than everyone else. Like all of the other, and he's like the only person driving a fossil fuel car.
Everyone else is in Teslas.
Yeah.
I can see that. You know what? There's eventually they'll look back on these as kind of a relic of its time. Like, wow.
Eventually.
Fair enough. What I mean is, like, people will be driving in their Teslas and they'll be going, wow, are they going to look back at like us watching people test the nuclear bombs and going, what the hell are they doing? Get behind the lead shields.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be they're going to be like, oh my God, can you believe they're driving those cars and they're not wearing masks? Yeah. And then they'll be like, can you even believe that people had individual transportation?
Yeah, that's true. And they weren't self-driving.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Well, some of them are self-driving.
That's true. Yeah.
Is that in there? That's got to be in at least 1 or 2 of these movies.
There'll be like a derisory comment left by like one of the characters of like a self-driving cars, that's lame or something. Yeah.
No, what I want is it's Vin Diesel and he looks over and he goes, don't worry, it's self-driving. And she goes, self-driving? And then he holds up a brick and then just puts it on the accelerator and they both bail out. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I wonder, I'm so curious to know, like, is it going to be like the trying to think of movies like the last Harry Potter movie that was like part 1 and part 2. I wonder if it's going to be like that, or is it going to be, Fast 11 is the final movie? Like, is it going to be Fast X part 2? I'm really curious as to how they're going to.
Is it Fast X or is it X Fast?
That's true. That's unclear.
There's got to be someone needs to. Oh, it's Fast X. We've got
Fast
it.
X, yeah. I'm really, because there was another video game. Final Fantasy did Final Fantasy X, and then they did Final Fantasy X2, which wasn't Final Fantasy 11. So they could go down that road. But I think also
they are the only people who could get away with it. Like, I would have no clue if they called this movie Fast X. And then the sequel to it, Fast X2 Part 2, I would still be okay.
It would be fine.
I would still be like, you do you.
Yeah. It's like,
I am assuming if this is called Fast X, then the second one will be called Faster X or Furious X. I think Furious X would be great.
I like Furious X. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, which, to be honest, that's my fault. I should have stopped texting her. Boo, puns at
the it's a little bit like that old what was the code talkers in World War II? They were the only ones that could understand their language. It's just a bit like that, If we ever need to come up with a new Enigma code, we'll just get the people who decide the names of the Fast and the Furious movies on it, and no enemy army will have any clue what it's about.
Yeah, Russia's going to be like, what's
going on there?
And Japan's just like, wild speed?
Yeah, like a version of it there.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Wild Speed, that's the series.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's about it. We don't have a ton else to talk about because we haven't seen the movie yet. But that was a lot of fun talking about all those. I learned a lot about fonts from your knowledge. Anything else you'd
We
like to
did.
add about Fast X?
I mean, those are all great. They're all over the place, absolute chaos.
Mm.
But that's kind of what I love about it is
Hmm.
they chose one thick, weird font, and that's the only thing that's kind of continued on through.
That's true. They've
Um,
they've really continued that on every single movie. They dug themselves a pit and they just kept digging, didn't they?
they knew what they were into.
Yeah, I mean it's it's one of those series is that you can criticize it all you want, but like it's obviously hasn't harmed it at all, and how well it's done. Like, it's
I don't
almost
know.
like they're successful in spite of themselves sometimes.
What's a series that you can't really come at it
No.
too much. I mean, I'm sure that there's parts of the original ones that haven't aged well in terms of misogyny or fossil fuel or
Mm.
substance abuse or whatever the hell else is. Well, I mean, but they started with people committing crimes and doing
Yeah.
things that we as a society have already gone, oh, not quite okay.
Yeah.
But also, they did that quite often as social commentary due to the situations they were put into.
Yeah.
So I don't know, chill out and watch some cars flip over and land somehow on their wheels.
One of those series is you don't need to think too hard about to enjoy. I think that starts to unravel a little bit if you start to question logic and things like that.
Yeah, it's only gonna fill you with remorse.
This is true. Yes. So thank you for joining me on this. Did you? I feel like a game show. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, that's how it works. That's what we're doing. Yeah, man, we had wait, are we still doing outro or are we just chatting?
We're
What do we
kind of
need to
just.
cover? Do we need to
I guess this is the point we could start the after dark portion of the chat. I won't take up too much longer of your time as it's getting really late. But how's
I
things?
know.
You had COVID recently, and you've have you recovered from that? All right?
Yeah, it's definitely some long COVID, but that's
Oh,
yeah,
bugger.
like I think that it's something where, we're very lucky in New Zealand that a lot of us have avoided it for as long as we have. Like,
Yeah.
and it's man, it just really kicked my butt and messed up my brain. But the good news is
Wow.
that like long COVID brain fog is not that unlike just having ADHD. So
Ah.
for me, it was like, oh, okay, I just need to rebuild some of these things and try to, put some steps in place so that I'm a little bit more present.
Yeah.
And then my sense of taste and smell came back, and I was like, all right,
Wow.
let's get on with life.
I feel like I got really lucky because I had it and it was one of the milder cases. Like I actually just thought I had a regular cold, and I'm really glad that I tested when I did because I was in the shower feeling like a little bit sick, and I thought I'd already dropped out of. I was going to a musical bingo gig I was going to host, and I had already missed it because I thought I had COVID beforehand, and I thought, oh, I can't cancel that again. It's probably just a cold. I'm probably just being paranoid. And then I tested it, and it was the boldest
Yeah.
line I've ever seen on a test before. And I was like, oh, okay, I am
Yeah.
sick. And
No, it's
but I didn't have as rough of a time as you did. I just had a sort of head cold, and I sort of recovered in a week or so. So that's. I hope you're on the mend
yeah, man.
soon.
No, I mean, I'm perfectly back to normal now. I mean, it's probably been about a month and a half since I got it. But yeah, when it hit me, it was very rough. And I had to cancel like a week of shows, and it was my first week doing back. So I was like, oh
Oh,
wow,
jeez.
I lost basically a month's income
Yeah,
in a week. It was
that's a rough time to get
pretty
it.
pretty yeah, but it's also, I mean, that's one of the risks of just being out and about and
Yeah,
doing live entertainment. I'm in rooms with people and doing stuff, and I'll be honest, I had to fly to the US last year and didn't catch COVID, so
that's pretty
I'm
good.
very happy about that.
I
It was that thing, like I was waiting to fly back to New Zealand, and
uh-huh.
it was the week before they stopped you having to have a clear test to hop on a plane.
Right.
So I had a 2.5 hour window where I was just sitting in LA going, do I have to like find a hotel for a week?
Oh, really? Was it
Uh,
that? Are you one of the people that, like, for me? I always think I'm getting sick. I have that kind of paranoia of like, oh, geez, my throat hurt a tiny bit there. Like, is this the first? Do you have that as well?
Whenever I'm in high risk situations with COVID, yeah, the next
Yeah.
couple of days are, and I've had friends who have suffered from that where they're like, oh man, I'm really worried I got COVID because I was at this bar last night and there were all these people around and my throat's real sore. And I was like, were you yelling?
Uh-huh.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
That's
Well,
probably what it is
wait a day and
Yeah.
find out. Yeah.
And then
But equally, it's way better safe than sorry.
yes, that was what I kind of heard on the side of caution. And then, as if that wasn't difficult enough, you guys had Cyclone Gabrielle
Yeah.
swinging through Auckland
Yeah,
last
I was
week, was it?
on. Yeah, I had two shows on Waiheke when the first little bit came through, and then when the full cyclone came through, I was back at home. But I'm inland, I'm elevated, so it's been a very strange time because my experience is so incredibly different to some other people's experiences. So it's very much just about having that empathy and trying to look out for what other people are up to and make sure that everyone's okay.
Yeah, and the thing that my brain sort of struggles to get around is I was honestly talking to a comic about this the other day is Auckland is so big that like certain parts of the city can be fine and then other parts are just underwater. And
Yeah.
coming from Christchurch where it's about a 30-minute drive across the city.
Yeah, yeah.
Even just seeing because Auckland is kind of built in that little bay and it's like all the different little pockets of it and yeah, just
Well, the first like two city blocks of downtown are all reclaimed land
ah
and massive swell because you've also got to remember Auckland, is in the height of a housing crisis.
yeah.
And so every piece of usable land has kind of been snapped up.
Oh
And
geez,
not all
yeah.
usable land should be used. Some of it should be, some of it should stay as the mangroves that it was.
Yeah, we learned
So,
that the hard way in Christchurch, I think. And I just saw a
yeah.
bloody news article the other day saying they're going to put some houses on the what was the red zone. Now it's a public park, and it's
We're
like,
humans. We're humans. We have no memory,
no,
and we are constantly just going, "What can we get away with?"
uh-huh,
We're
yeah,
just mischievous little kids living our capitalistic dreams, going,
yeah.
"Oh, well, sure, it's a swamp, or oh, sure, it's a fault line, but oh, could we get away with a townhouse?"
We're like, oh, lightning's not going to strike twice, surely.
Yeah, like guys, how about you just, like send some people to Japan to survey some of their giant residential apartment buildings and throw a
Yes,
couple of them in that are going to be earthquake and flood proof.
yeah, that's a big thing at the moment with intensification is something that is quite hotly debated in Christchurch, and I suspect that's probably a lot of people have reservations about tall buildings because of the possibility of an earthquake. But it's like, well,
Yeah.
other
Oh, go to
countries,
YouTube. Go to YouTube and look up like Japanese skyscrapers during
yeah,
earthquakes or
yeah,
during hurricanes and be like, how is that okay? And it's like, that's not even them under strain. That's the designed sway.
that's just a little warm up for that building.
Yeah, that building's like, oh, it's not exactly a tsunami. I'll be fine.
No, that was one thing that when I was living there is because you have earthquakes every other day over there, and it would be that thing where because we're constantly experiencing them here for years, I would always notice them. My coworkers would just they were yeah, no, there
Yeah.
wasn't an earthquake. That's just the building swaying.
He's just like, the what now?
Yeah, exactly.
We kind
Um,
of, I mean, I love living in New Zealand, but sometimes I think we forget how incredible we are and that we
yeah,
can, like we have the power, we have the technology, we have, we can do it if we care, if we
yeah.
put the time in, if we put the effort in.
Especially in Christchurch, which is the place people go to learn engineering. You would think we'd have a little more faith in ourselves. Like, we've
Yeah,
got
but it's
the
New
engineering
Zealand. So
uni.
as soon as you get your degree, you leave so you can afford to pay it off.
Yeah, that's true. It does. That's a tricky one. I I didn't go to uni, so I could. Yeah, I'm very glad I didn't undergo a lot of debt to study. Did you study graphic design, or did you just
Yeah,
start?
yeah. Yeah, I didn't pay off my student loan until I came back from the US.
How many did you do? A 3 years, a 3 year
Yeah, yeah.
course?
Yeah, but I also, when I was in the US, I was working and I was sending money back and paying it off as I went. And
Yeah.
then also, I mean, you only have to sit down with people with American student loans and you go, oh my God, my student loan is very achievable.
We have it pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, like I think my student loan at its peak was only about $18,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Mine.
for me right now is horrifying. Dear God, imagine if I had that money, that would be,
Yeah.
incredible. But at the
Yeah.
same point, I have friends who have theater degrees who have, $90,000 US.
Ouch.
And, yeah, and you're going, I love you guys, but what?
That is brutal.
But I mean, for me, it was, I always had, because I was born in the US, so I always had the dream of going to university in the US.
Yeah.
Wasn't until I looked into it that I was just like, oh, this is just not a reality. Like, there's just,
Even if you were, because you said you were half American, does that mean you
yeah.
have any kind of citizenship over there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a full citizen. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I vote and I
That didn't
can do
make it
all
any
of the other
easier.
stuff. I mean, you got to remember, it's not that I'm foreign and it's expensive. It's just
It's just
expensive.
expensive,
you
yeah.
know yeah, it's just, and it's also, I mean, there is community college and there are more affordable ways to
Yeah.
get an education now, but equally there are affordable ways to get an education in New Zealand, and
Yeah. I think
why
that's what I
wouldn't
did. Community college
yeah,
kind of level.
yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, I went to, straight out of high school, I went to a polytech and, got a certificate or, whatever it was. And then
Hmm.
I had a job for 2 years and then I went, oh yeah, I'm going to go to uni.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't
Yeah.
enroll until I was 21, I think.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good. At least you kind of knew. I think a lot of people just kind of do it because they don't want school to end. And then, 4 years later, they're like, I still don't know what I want to do. And then, yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't in many ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a real weird one. I mean, I had a great time and it was incredible, like the amount that I learned and the tools that I've used. And I have used a lot of, that's how I managed to pay to move to
That's true.
America. That's how I paid to move back to New Zealand.
And you also know a lot more about design than I do. So maybe,
I
maybe
mean, I don't
that's
know if
the.
that serves me that well, but
Well, I mean, you look like a massive stud on a post podcast, so that's some kind of clout, I guess.
we're doing it.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's about we'll probably wrap that up now. Let you get back to your evening. Appreciate you coming on the show. If you're keen to if you have an idea for a series of posters you want to talk about for whatever reason, maybe you've got some theories.
Yeah.
Definitely keen to do another one. But
Yeah. Get me back for some 80s sci-fi movie posters.
yeah, well, if
That's
you
what I'm
can
talking about.
if you can find a selection of them, I can do a little bit
Oh,
of
I can.
research.
Oh, I definitely can.
Just got
And
to pretend.
after we finish talking, I will be sending you what my computer output as AI generated posters for Fast and Furious.
That sounds
Uh,
fantastic.
and I will tell you what, this AI has no limit on how many times Vin Diesel can be in a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, that's brilliant. Have you told it to do the next 10 years of Fast and Furious movies or
I
something
mean,
like
it
that?
definitely, if it has almost every single one of them has at least 4 Vin Diesels in it.
Just like the same on the same poster.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Sometimes on the same body.
I think that's a view. That's what they're going to be eventually. Is the rest of them will get sick of it, and Vin Diesel will go, you know what? I like money. I'm going to keep doing these.
It's just 1,000 Vin Diesels. One of them does have spaceships in it, so
Nice. I'm
I'm
looking forward to
guessing
seeing these.
that's X Future,
Yeah.
X
Well, the X.
Fast, X Furious, X Future.
Nice. There you go. That's a great way to send it off. Thanks for coming on the show, and we'll catch
Thanks
you
for
next time, I
having me.
guess.
Yes, please.
So that was the second part of my interview with Steven Lyons, where we talked about all of the Fast and the Furious movies and their posters. As you could probably tell, having just listened to the interview, Steven is an absolutely lovely guy and really, really smart when it comes to design. Partway through that conversation, I realized that Steven is somebody who actually knows what he's talking about when it comes to design, and I severely do not. I hope you enjoyed the listen. I think we're definitely going to bring back Steven on future episodes, but a little bit of an announcement now in regards to the future of the Poster Podcast. Something that I've been umming and ahhing with for a long time now about what to do with my podcast.
I've never really been sure whether to go for a broad approach to try and get as many listeners as possible, or to choose something niche and just find the people that are residing within that niche. But after a lot of thinking about it and doing my quarterly review for the year, which you can find on my Patreon, patreon.com/Taylor Ruddle Comedy, I've decided that going forward I'm going to change up the format of this podcast to more of a general media, comedy, professional wrestling, sports even, basically just anything that I'm interested in talking about, as to not limit myself to just talking about posters. And I've also just had a lot of people that I've encountered over the last quarter of the year that I wanted to do an interview with, but it wouldn't be super relevant to do a poster interview with these people. So as of right now, I don't know what the new podcast is going to be called. I suspect I'll probably end up calling it the Rudcast. It's an idea that I've had in my head for a while. And we're still going to do poster episodes in the future, but I've decided to use the umbrella term of the Rudcast and then just have themed episodes. So we might do some general interviews, we might do some poster review podcasts, we're going to do maybe watching episodes of an old TV show and reviewing them. Those are always fun to do, and I think people really like listening to them. I've also been wanting to talk about retro video games and stuff like that. So I know most people probably aren't going to hear this announcement as it goes up. I imagine maybe in a few months people will be listening back to the episodes and they'll wonder why the name of the podcast changed. So in case you're wondering, that was your explanation. I just felt like I wanted to not limit myself as much and not worry so much about getting it perfect every time, and focus more on getting content out there, seeing what people respond to, and adjusting my strategy based on that. So with that, this will probably be the last podcast I publish under the Poster Podcast name. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've been enjoying the journey so far. We've got some really exciting episodes coming up soon that I am really looking forward to recording and getting out to you. Appreciate your time, and I'll talk to you very soon again.